Welcome back, and we're ready to move on to probably two of the most important parts of a lesson. Things to think about. And the next one will be the interactive reading, which is the chronological Bible story. But things to think about will help you to interact with your students on different levels of understanding of English, and that relates to their personal life, their spiritual values, their life experiences, and have a good discussion helping them use their English. Now turn to, in your front of your book, to Roman numeral 8 and 9, which talks about things to think about. And then also turn in your book to the section on things to think about in lesson 1. And that will be on 1-15. And we're going to be looking at just the first selection. Now let me say that in your class, I would not try to include many of the other things that you've done in the section in the lesson, such as pronunciation, clap to stress, and reading and writing, and then try to sandwich in things to think about. I would move up through the lesson to this point and then stop and have one whole class session just entirely dedicated to one of the selections or two of the selections that you have on this page. All right, so let me just encourage you not to try to rush through these parts, things to think about and the Bible reading, but to really spend lots of good focus and concentrated and interactive time with your students. Now let's turn to Roman numeral 7 and 8, 8 and 9, excuse me, that talks about things to think about. Now, I have written on the board that first selection from things to think about. And it is the Nigerian proverb called, "Hold a true friend with both your hands." And so the first thing you want to do is ask the question, now, should the students have their books open at this time? And, you know, I'm not going to put a recommendation. If they want to have their books open at the time, that's fine. But it'd be good for you to be able to have a board or a sheet or something that you can write it on a board. If not, you can use cards. And if you're meeting in somebody's home, you have no way to put it on a board, then sometimes you can have several sheets, and you can put it up on the back. I've done this where you put it on the back of a sofa against the cushions. And so you put the whole phrase, the whole proverb right on a sofa so they can see it and work with it. All right? So now, let's go step by step on how we would teach things to think about. The first thing is that you put it on the board, and then the second is that you will say, please listen, and you want to read it. And I want you to read it in the best tone and reflection and stress that you have in a very moderate speed. All right? So here's what I think it should sound like. And you try to practice it with me, okay? Here we go. Please listen. Hold a true friend with both your hands. Read it again. Hold a true friend with both your hands. Now you notice I put a pause between friend and with, and that's because when we put our sentences together into phrases, we change our thought. We go from who is doing what, when, where, and why. And when we do it, we have a slight pause. So you don't want to become like a machine. You do not want to read it like, hold a true friend with both your hands. Hold a true friend with both your hands. Or slow down to hold a true friend with both your hands. We just don't speak that way. So you want to do it very natural. But there is a slight pause because we're transferring from who does what. So there's a little pause. So hold a true friend with both your hands. Please listen again. Hold a true friend with both your hands. And you notice that as I'm saying it, I'm moving my hand right along with the word that I am saying in the sentence. So I'm not saying, hold a true friend with both your hands. I'm not going ahead of it because your students are going to track your hand and they will get confused with the sounds. You don't want to go too slow. Hold a true friend with both your hands. That would get them confused too. So be sure to just move right along. Hold a true friend with both your hands. Okay, say that about 3 times. And then what's the next step? Now look in your book now, and what would be the next step? That's right. Give an opportunity for your students to interact and ask questions about any words that they may not know or understand. And what would those words be? What are some of the words here in this sentence that they may not be familiar with because we haven't covered it in Lesson 1? Well, there are 2 words. One is hold. Hold. So you would say, ask 2 of your students to come up, and then you might give them an object, and you say, Jack, please hold the book. Please hold the pen. And see, without gesturing, to see if they understand the word hold. If not, then you say, okay, you go right back to vocabulary. You say, please listen, and then you would demonstrate hold. All right? Now, you remember we also talked about opposites, and we're going to come to the difference between a true friend and a false friend. But what's another word that your students might not be familiar with? Well, it might be this word here, both hands. Both your hands. So have your students come up and say, okay, demonstrate holding with both your hands. And see if your students can act it out. If they can act it out, then you don't have to teach it. If they don't understand what holding something or someone with both hands, then you and your partner will have to demonstrate it just like you would with vocabulary. All right? So then you'd go through and make sure that they understand any words that that are in the sentence, and they can role play it. All right? Now, what's the next step? Look at your book now. What's the next step? That's right. You start asking questions. Here's where it really becomes the strength and the power of discussing several of these proverbs. So you'd ask your students, what is the opposite of a true friend? Well, you have taught opposites, true, false, and hopefully they will answer a false friend. And then I would invite 2 students to come up. I say, please, student A, student B, come up here. Show us a true friend. Well, how does a true friend act? And then they would act it out. Good, good. Student C and D, come up here. Demonstrate what a false friend, how do they treat one another? How do they act? And here's what's very interesting. Quite often, they're not sure just exactly how to demonstrate it. So maybe you can help them out. And what we do is we have the friend come and they're shaking, they're smiling, happy, you know. And then when they turn, we make some crazy gesture like, oh, what a crazy, you know, I don't want anything to do with them, you know. And you're walking away as if I'm disinterested in your friend. So you act out what a true friend really holds them close. But a false friend, you know, you're a friend, but I'm not really interested in you. Okay? So have fun acting that out. And that's the part that they will understand. Then, with both your hands. Why both hands? So, invite one of your students up, and you say both hands. You grab hold of their wrists. I usually grab a hold of their wrists or their hands, depending on whether it's a male or a female, and whether you as a tutor are a male or a female, and what is appropriate culturally. You hold on to them. And then you ask the question, why both hands? And if they can answer, and you start having a discussion, that's what you want to encourage. If they're sitting there and they're beginning, very low-level English learners, then you say, one hand, and then you move away, and what happens is that you can lose control. You lose your grip. So if you don't hold on to your friend with both hands, you might lose them, and they're important, they're valuable. And we'll discuss how you demonstrate that. But if you have both hands and you grab a hold of that student with both hands, and you tug and you're trying, they can't get away. They're part of you. They're a true friend because they're right with you. You don't lose them. And then now you want to get to the next level of understanding about value. A true friend is valuable, important part of your life. So if you have something that has great value, you can use currency. You might want to pull out a large denomination of money and maybe just a simple little coin, and one is more valuable than the other. So you're going to hold on to that which is valuable and not so strong of holding on just a simple little coin, a penny or something. And you can use a watch or your wedding band if you have a wedding ring or something that's real valuable. You really want to hang on. And so you're demonstrating that when you hold a true friend, it's because they are valuable. Okay? Now you see where we're going? So we're going in the understanding of the layer of the meaning of this proverb into the spiritual depth and meaning. So you want to hold a friend with both your hands because they are an important and valuable part of your life. And then the next step then would be to then say to student A or student B, do you have a true friend? Do you have a true friend? A friend that holds on to you with both their hands. They're really important and they're valuable in your life. And then you let them answer. And this will stimulate lots of discussion. It really will. And then if in your class you have some English learners that are Christians and some that aren't, you can make reference to your Christian student and ask them. I said, who's an important person in your life that holds you with both their hands? And we have had situations in our classes where the Christian student has talked about their faith and have been able to initiate conversation between the students about their personal life values, their spiritual faith, and their life experiences. It's very exciting, so be prepared to allow things to happen naturally as the Spirit just sort of generates discussion. And then, but if there is none, and you have a beginning level, then you say, well, I have a person who holds on to me with both his hands. God holds on to me with both his hands. Jesus Christ loves me. I'm really important to him. I'm valuable, so he hangs on to me with both his hands. And I want to hold on to him with both my hands too, because he is my true friend. He's a friend that will never become false. And then you can talk about that. And so you let that discussion go until they're all sort of interacting and having a really good time and talking about their life. And you can ask questions of your students about their life experiences and how they came to your country and what were those experiences that caused them to maybe have a false friend. And it's very valuable to learn more about your student as you let them discuss. Now, let's go on to the next step. After this has all been completed, what is the next step? Step 4. Well, now you begin to want to help them memorize maybe this proverb, and especially some of the biblical proverbs that are included in the other lessons. And so here's a little game that we can use that maybe would be helpful for you. And I've put this on the board. So you have your students stand, and you and your partner begin saying the phrase. So you say, okay, please listen. Hold a true friend with both your hands. Okay, please repeat. Please read. Hold a true friend. So everyone is joining in. They're all reading. Hold a true friend with both your hands. And they're going looping around, just saying it over and over and over again. And after they say it about 4 or 5 times, then here's what you do. As they're saying it, then you will begin to erase a word. So they're saying, hold a true friend with both. Be sure to put your hand where the word once was, because they are memorizing it and they know that there's a word in the space. So you say, hold a true friend with both your hands. 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 And you just keep doing that. So by the time they've said it 15 or 20 times as you're erasing, then you stop. Then you say to student A, please read, hold a true friend. And you have each student then go through and you help them with the rhythm and the cadence and let them read the whole thing. And while they're reading it, then you are putting your hand up there, helping them to remember where the words are. Hold a true friend with both your hands. Okay, now that's fun. Now let me just say, what happened? Oh gosh, I don't have a board. What do I do? And here's another opportunity that you can have. Sometimes you can have cards, sheets like this. If you have a large class, you can use cards if you don't have an opportunity to have a board. So let's look down here. I have two sets of cards. I'm going to talk about how you can make a game out of this. Can you see this down here? I put here out of order the sentence, the proverb. So what you would do is say, let's come up and put it in order. And so all your students will come up to the board or to the sofa, or if it's on the floor. I've sometimes put it just on the floor for them to look at. And they stoop down and they're working, and say, okay, so they're putting it like this, and they're working with one another, and they're helping one another put the proverb together, and one's helping another. And then once they have it all put together, then they will say, I said, okay, let's read it together. Hold a true friend with both your hands. Now I mentioned something about a game. Let's say you have 2 or 3 tutors and you have maybe 10 or 12 students. Well, now you divide them in half, A and B. And then you would take one set of cards and you would mix them up. Then you would put a second set of cards and put them in this order on the floor or wherever, the table. And then you would say, okay, the first one to put them all in order and is able to say, hold a true friend with both your hands, gets a prize. And it may be a little piece of candy or a cookie or maybe a certificate to one of the fast food restaurants or something like that for a soft drink or something like that. So you put one on each, and then one team works against the other team, and they are reinforcing the proverb. And it's lots of fun, and that's really what's really important, is that you're having fun with your students, and they're having fun, and at the same time they're learning how to speak and to recognize letter sounds and to read and to write, and now they're putting it all into meaningful sentences that talk about their life values and their life experiences, and that's what you want to have done. Okay? Now, I want you to take time right now. I want you to go and just use either this proverb, the Nigerian proverb, or one of the other proverbs. Make it short, like friends are flowers in the garden of life. That will be a challenging one for you. How do you describe a garden? You might have to go and find some flowers or something and talk about a garden, maybe show a picture. Or you might want to take that other proverb, some friends don't help, but a true friend is closer than his own family. And let me just say one thing about that particular proverb. You will need someone who will be the speaker. You will need some friends. You will need someone who is closer than the family. You will need some of your students to be the family. So you see, it's a little bit more challenging for you than some of the other proverbs. Now, I want you to take some time right now, select one of the proverbs, or you can go to one of the other lessons and select a simple proverb, an American proverb or something that you see there, and take a time and work together as team teachers and to spend at least 30 minutes, if not longer, to do one of the proverbs and things to think about. Follow each of the steps like we did in the book, and use the cards and write on the board if you have one there available, and just have fun and interact with your students. Get acquainted with them now, because after this training You will be working with them on a weekly basis, and you might as well start getting acquainted right now and learn more about where they are in their life, in their experiences, and in their faith, and etc. Okay? So let's turn off the tape now and work about 35 minutes, 40 minutes doing one of these proverbs. Okay? And we'll come back and we'll just talk about the Bible reading after that. Okay, we'll see you back here. Bye.